Internet Explorer 8 is the most standards compliant version of the browser that Microsoft have released yet. It fixes a lot of bugs that have plagued both Internet Explorer 6 and also Internet Explorer 7, and web designers used to have to implement all kinds of hacks to make their web pages look correct in these two versions of Internet Explorer. However, Internet Explorer 8 can take on the appearance of a different version of the browser. If you're not careful, it may not display your web page exactly the way you want it. So for example, you must include the proper doc type that we mentioned earlier. So when Internet Explorer 8 goes into Quirks mode, it tries to replicate the look of Internet Explorer 5. But also, Internet Explorer 8 can also pretend to be Internet Explorer 7. And you'll notice that within Internet Explorer, let's just open up the browser, you'll see here in the top right hand corner we've got something called compatibility view. So if we click on that, okay, it now pretends to be Internet Explorer 7 rather than Internet Explorer 8. The same thing can happen automatically if Microsoft put your website on something called the Microsoft Compatibility View List, and this is a list of sites that Microsoft has determined look better in Internet Explorer 7 than it does in Internet Explorer 8. However, if you're designing a website using this video tutorial, you're going to be using standards that are compliant with Internet Explorer 8, and therefore you want it to act like Internet Explorer 8 and not have the possibility that it's going to act like Internet Explorer 7. You can, within your code, force Internet Explorer to view your page only in Internet Explorer 8. If we go back to Dreamweaver, so what I'm going to do is we're just going to go back to our test page, and I'm going to add an extra meta tag in here in the head section. And what this bit of extra code allows you to do is to force Internet Explorer 8 to show your web page as Internet Explorer 8 and not have the possibility that it will show it in a previous version of Internet Explorer. So it's an HTTP equiv, and we then just put equals to, and then it's X dash U A dash compatible, and then we add a content attribute and we put IE equals to edge, and then we just close that meta tag. Okay, let's just save that, and we'll go back to our Internet Explorer page and we'll refresh, and you'll see that it doesn't show any difference at all. However, the compatibility button will never appear. I'm now going to move on to a couple of tools that you can use, one for Internet Explorer 8 called Developer Tools, and one for Firefox that you have to download as an additional extension called Firebug. So let's start with the Internet Explorer version. I'm just going to go back to the Multimedia Training Videos website, and I know because I've had a look at some of the source code that this page uses some cascading style sheets. But to the end user, you can't really see. And certainly if you're trying to create your web page, it's sometimes difficult to know which styles are being applied to which parts. If you've no idea what I'm talking about in terms of styles, we'll come on to them in a minute. But I want to introduce you to the tool so that we can then start to have a look at some of the styles that are being applied. Okay, so where do you find out about these developer tools, or how do you activate it? It's under the Tools menu, and you'll notice here we've got this listing called Developer Tools. Okay, there we go. So we'll just open it up. Okay, and we can either have it as a separate window, or we can pin it to the bottom of our browser window. So let's do that. And there we go. Okay, so now within the same browser window we can see our original page, and we can also see this Developer Tools. Okay, so how does this help us? Well, I'm just going to click on this arrow on the top right of the Developer Tools window. Okay, and that allows me to select a certain element within the page. And you'll notice as I start to go over the page that things start to get highlighted. There we go, we start having a blue box around them. And these are all the different elements within our page. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this multimedia training videos text. Okay, and now having clicked on it, you'll notice that down here on the right hand side, we've got a whole load of styles being listed. Okay, so let me explain exactly how this window is laid out. The style and the tag to which that style has been applied is shown here on the left hand side. Okay, if a style has been overruled by a different cascading style sheet, then you'll see a line through it like we've got here. Okay, so that means that it was being applied but something else has overridden it, and again we'll look at this in detail when we look at some of the properties of cascading style sheets. And then on the right hand side it tells you which cascading style sheet is applying that style. Okay, so let me just browse down to one that is being applied somewhere. Okay, here we go. Here are some styles that you can see on the left hand side. They aren't being they haven't got a line through them, so therefore it means that they are being applied. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's untick the font size. Let's see what happens with that. And there we can see. So now we just go back to a default style. Okay, so somewhere some other style is being applied. Okay, it may well be that we're now back to the default font size, which is the same as that used in the rest of the page. So we've taken off the fact that normally the font size is 2.5 EM. We can also actually, within these developer tools, change a current property just so we can see how it looks. It doesn't actually save that change in our cascading style sheet, but it allows us to just preview how it might look. So for example, maybe I don't want it to be 2.5, I want it to be 5, and now let's see how that would look. And there we go. So we haven't changed any of the source code, we're just using this developer tools as a way of previewing how something might look if we did change the size of it. So it's a really useful tool because we're not having to go between Dreamweaver and saving our HTML and our cascading style sheet and then going back to Internet Explorer. We can preview everything within the browser window, and also we can see which styles are being applied and whereabouts it's getting that style information from. We'll look in a lot more detail about how these developer tools can be used, but they're really handy things.